Hello, my name is Merlin Marr-Johnson. I'm Executive Vice President for Salazar Resources, and this is an audio presentation running through the Q2 presentation that I've been delivering at various conferences in the last couple of months. Salazar Resources is a TSXV quoted company, market capitalization around $45 to $50 million Canadian, $35 to $40 million US. It's a well-financed exploration and development company. We've got a series of new projects in the 100% owned portfolio, which provides optionality on discovery success. And we also have a carried interest in El Domo, which is a VMS discovery, which underpins our value. On the slide 2, we've got a standard disclaimer. And if you move on to slide 3, really the investment case hinges on the fact that Salazar Resources equity is value backed by the carried interest in El Domo. And then on top of that, you've got the exploration upside from the 100% owned portfolio. Now, Salazar Resources has been listed for a number of years, and in 2017 we signed an agreement with Adventus Mining, and we've got this partnership with Adventus which really underpins the value of the company. Salazar Resources has a fully carried 25% stake at El Domo within the broader Curipamba project area. And El Domo is a high-grade VMS copper gold deposit that is en route to development and production. It has 8.9 million tons at 2% copper, 2.6 grams gold, almost 3% zinc, and around 50 grams per ton silver, with a little bit of lead in there as well. The NPV on this, a preliminary economic analysis was carried out in 2019, and if you plug in today's metal prices into that NPV calculation, you get an NPV of around $500 million, with this extraordinarily high, above 50% IRR on an after-tax basis. So it's a highly valuable asset. It's globally competitive in terms of its capital intensity, and that is, as I said, it's on its way to production. The feasibility study on it is due by Q4 2021. In addition to El Domo, we also have, in our partnership with Adventus, two carried interest in two exploration projects, Pijilli and Santiago. We are carried on a 20% basis of that all the way through to a final investment decision, and both of those exploration licenses are large copper gold porphyry targets. At Pijilli, we have completed phase 1 drilling with Adventus, and we've got enough indications there to suggest that we're really onto something, and we're planning phase 2 exploration. At Santiago, it's a major porphyry target. It's got superb technical attributes and got the real potential to be a large, major new discovery. And we are in the process of planning for drilling that hopefully soon. It slightly depends on the permits that we've got and the community access, but the aim is to start drilling that in Q3 of this year. On the separate side of the portfolio, we've got this, Salazar Resources as a whole really encapsulates this rather extraordinary, unique Ecuadorian expertise, and that really comes through on the 100% portfolio. So we have 4 wholly owned concessions as well, or license areas or project areas. And we've been drilling on Ossos during this year, and what we're really looking to do is delineate a large new discovery there, also within the 100% owned portfolio. And in fact, right across, even with Adventus, we've got this extraordinarily good and strong ESG component and extremely good community relations engagement. We've got a new project pipeline. We've got 2 routes for new projects. One is through direct applications to the government, and the second was using our local network and our concession deal flow. We also have income within Salazar Resources, not a huge amount, but it helps cover our G&A. We get advanced royalties in El Domo. We've got a management fee from the work that we do with Adventus, and we've got 4 drill rigs that we, within a wholly owned subsidiary, Perforaciones Andes Drill, which brings in together about $1.5 million US, which really goes a long way to pretty much covering all of our G&A. Moving on to slide 4, really, if you look at what are the catalysts to drive the shares up, and what is our strategy to create sustainable value for all of our stakeholders, well, we're doing that on a twin track process. One is that we're de-risking our assets, and the second is that we're making new discoveries. And by de-risking our assets, what we're really talking about is El Domo, and you would reduce the discount to the NPV that's applied to it as we advance it through to production. So just as a reminder, the NPV 8 of El Domo is about $288 million based on the PEA numbers on historic pricing. But if you actually put in today's prices, in fact, in the presentation, which is from April, it says more than $400 million. If you put in today's metal prices, it's actually closer to $500 million. And really, if you consider the combined market caps of Adventus at 150 Canadian and ours at about 45 Canadian, so we're talking about 100. We're trading at about 0.35 NAV relative to the value of El Domo. And so what we're aiming to do is in the next few months and over the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to walk down that discount. And we do that by completing milestones. And the first one, of course, is the feasibility study, which is due in Q4, hopefully in October. The second one would be the advance or the award of a mining permit to actually enable us to make a final investment decision, actually kind of go ahead on this. And then there'd be the financing, and then you're into the construction and development of the asset itself. Now, because it's Ecuador, because there's a lot of concern over the ability to get your permits issued in Ecuador, we believe that the key de-risking milestone for Salazar Resources or for El Domo is the mining permit, and so it'll be all eyes on that during the first half of this year. But should we get the mining permit, that will actually unlock a huge amount of value. Now, what we're looking at really is, as you, let's say our share price is kind of around 35 cents, and as you de-risk it, you should be able to walk that share price higher, 35, 40 to perhaps 50 cents or higher, depending on how much of the discount one removes. Now, that's all well and good, and that's kind of the worst case scenario, is that we see this increase in the share price based on the progress at El Domo, which is of course funded by Adventus. The real kicker on the share price, is going to come from defining a new discovery, defining a new flagship project. And that's really about crystallizing the wider Ecuador opportunity by Salazar Resources. And we do this in 3 ways. One is to leverage our local expertise. The team's got a remarkable track record of discovery success. We have a real focus on community liaison and working with the local communities, working with the local people. It's all through dialogue and addressing their needs. And remember that as a company, Salazar Resources is almost entirely Ecuadorian. I'm the only non-Ecuadorian in the day-to-day management team, and Salazar Resources, through Freddie Salazar and his colleagues and the team, we've got this unrivaled local network and geological knowledge. So the aim for 2021 is to work out which one is going to be our flagship. Now, we're drilling 4 of our own properties this year, and we've also we're hoping to bring in a couple of extra properties during the course of the year. 1 or 2 will be from the direct application to the government that we made years ago, and of course they've been sitting with the mining cadastre, which hasn't been processing its permits. Now, we know that a couple of our permit areas we were the only people to apply for it. And we know that there was there's no objection within the mines department. It's just it's a process of getting those signatures on there. And we hope that the new Lasso government will enable these kind of non-contentious license areas to be processed, because it will just bring in foreign direct investment into the country in the form of exploration dollars. So we hope that that will come through, and we've got our eye on a couple of license areas that we really like. And we also are speaking to a number of local people about their concession areas, and we've got our eye on a couple of superb areas there. And we're speaking to a number of existing concession holders that come through our grassroots network, and the hope is to bring in another license or two or project or two through that route as well. And once we've identified our main flagship asset, then we'll be able to farm out our therefore non-core assets or lower priority assets. If you look at slide 5, which is the map of Ecuador, you can see that the projects tagged with blue labels, those are the 100% Salazar Resources projects, and the ones in the orange labels, these are the ones which are in the Exploration Alliance or within the kind of the partnership with Adventus. In the center of the country, in the center of the picture there, you've got El Domo, which is the VMS discovery made by Salazar Resources, which is within the Curupamba project, and that is the one that's going to feasibility in Q4. Pijili is the next one south of that. It's in that Rio Blanco Chaucha cluster, and as I said, we believe that we're onto something there, and that's going through to phase 2 drilling with Adventus. And then Santiago is the other Adventus project in between Portobello and Loja. It's right on that, it's slightly further east than the other ones. As I said, we hope to be drilling that next quarter. Now, about our 4 projects, we're drilling Ossos. We've got a 3,000 to 5,000 meter drill program there. Getting some good indications, and it's to the southwest of Cangrejos. And then we've got Santos on the east of that, which is on the east of Cangrejos, which is we signed in early December, so we're relatively new on the ground there. We're doing work as quickly as we can, working up that target. It's a 2,200 hectare license area. It's got lots of promising indications, and I look forward to being able to talk through some of the exploration results at Santos as soon as they are published. Up in the north, right on that kind of the Cascabel Yurumagua trend, we've got our Rumiñahui project area. This is a copper gold porphyry target. Freddie Salazar's been tracking this for about 20 years, since he first came across it with Newmont back in the mid 1990s. And we have done all of the surface work there. We're ready to drill. We've got the core shed, we've got the community on side, everything's ready to go. We're just waiting for the final water use permits to come through, and we hope to get those soon. We've got a plan to drill it in Q2, Q3. If we can get the permits sooner, we'll start drilling there as quickly as possible. It's a genuinely exciting copper gold target. There's a visible structure at the surface with high grade in copper and in gold. What we don't know is whether there's a porphyry or a skarn underneath. So it's either a small but high grade target or a big high grade target. But anyway, we'll be putting some drill holes into that in the next in the coming months. And then the 4th project that we've got is down in the south, Macaramina. We did a geophysical survey over this, looking for VMSs. You can see it's got the red star of a VMS there. We'll probably have to change that to an epithermal ticker. It seems as if it's intrusion related, but the intrusion is lower density rather than higher density. It didn't give a strong gravity response. So we'll be aiming to drill that early next year. It's not actually in our immediate drill plans. If we can get to it at the end of this year, we will. We've got about we've got a budget for about 12,000 meters of drilling. We're about 3,000 meters through at Los Osos, and then we'll divvy up the rest between Santos and Rumiñahui, and possibly a new project if we can get it into the portfolio in time. Moving on to slide 6. Really what we're aiming to do here, I just want to remind everybody that El Domo is hugely valuable. And we're at the phase now where we're harvesting value at Curupamba. We are, as I've said before, we're 25% fully carried, and it was an original discovery that's now in feasibility. There's the history on the left-hand side of the screen here. You can see that we've drilled, getting on for 400 holes over probably about 65,000 meters of drilling now, and it's one of the highest grade assets globally. In the central column here of the slide, you can see that it's one of the better projects globally, and really importantly, it's flat lying, it's shallow, it's close to surface. Most of this is going to fall into an open pit. There's really nothing like this out there. So as soon as we can kind of get through the Ecuador discount of the mine permit, then we're really into business, and the true value of this will start coming out. Because we've seen Mirador and Fruta del Norte come into production in Ecuador, so we've kind of de-risked it or the country has been de-risked as an operating environment. There's still the permitting risk, but as I said, once we can get through that, then we can really see the value of this project being reflected in the equity price. And of course, there's ongoing work at Curupamba during 2021, and you've seen some spectacular infill drilling results coming through on the news flow, but there's also exploration potential on the broader license area. Slide 7 is a reminder of the PEA figures, which would kind of payback less than 2 years, operating costs of less than $1 a pound, a startup capex of about $185 million. The work since then has seen gradual improvements, particularly on the metallurgical side of things. There's been a huge amount of metallurgical work. Christian, the CEO of Adventus, is a metallurgist, and he's put a lot of emphasis on blending the samples, getting representative samples, doing exactly the right work. And the result is that we've got 3 clean concentrates. We've got a copper concentrate, a zinc concentrate, and a lead concentrate with good payability and good terms. And that's really that will drive the NPV higher from what you can see in the PEA level. The good infill drilling results, the continual confirmation of the grades in the model through the infill, it's unlikely to change the resource figures much. We hope that there probably won't be much change in terms of the tons, but if there's an uptick on the tenor of the overall resource and measured and indicated, that would be great, possibly 5%, but we'll see when those numbers come out in the coming months. So onto slide 8, and this is really the work program. It's a dynamic program, and we respond to the drilling results we get, the trenching results we get, and of course the critical thing is the permits we have to be able to work. So really what we're looking to do is wrap up the drilling at Osos in the first half of this year, so by the end of June more or less, and then move it into Rumiñahui. There you can see that we in April we were hoping to get started at Rumiñahui. In May we haven't got the permits yet, and there was of course the election and the change in administration, and it's only recently that we've seen the new environmental minister appointed, but we really hope that we'll be moving on to getting all those permits and into that phase 1 drill program at Rumiñahui, and then at the back end of Q3 hopefully moving into drilling at Santos. And just as a reminder, there at the bottom we've got that line saying that we've got field crews continuing to target new areas and doing prospecting in selected areas of Ecuador. This is low-cost, discrete work in conjunction with the local communities and local owners, and it's really turning up some great stuff, and I hope to be able to report on that during the course of, in the next few months. So Just as a reminder on slide 9, this is the additional activity that we've got in 2021 over and above the drilling programs that I've highlighted in the previous slide and the work on the feasibility study at El Domo, which is that in the fully carried portfolio, which is the portion at the top of the slide there, we've got at Curupamba, we've got exploration in the wider project area. At Pijili, there's drilling, phase 1, phase 2, and at Santiago, we're preparation for drilling and we look to go into drilling. And just as a reminder again that the exploration alliance we've got with Adventus it was originally designed with zinc projects in mind. So we are obliged to offer all new zinc projects to Adventus. However, as neither Adventus nor Salazar is particularly looking for zinc at the moment, it's a kind of a slightly a moot point. We do have with Adventus several gold copper projects which are they're pending, or they're in tramite, or they're in process with the mining cadastre. Now, on the bottom half of the slide, you can see that we've got our own prospective pipeline on a 100% basis. And these, as I said, come from direct applications for new concessions. And we've got a number of licenses which have been under application since 2017. We've got new applications for new areas ready for submission. And we do hope the mining cadastre will open in the second half of this year. The recent mood music coming out of Ecuador is that actually the Ministry for Non-Renewable Resources and Energy is going to split into two, and we're going to actually have a separate and independent mines ministry. Now, it's probable now that is going to take place first, and then the mining cadastre will be able to kind of swing into action. So there's a possibility that the opening of the mining cadastre actually may not happen until 2022, but clearly the sooner that it does open, the sooner that those permits are issued, the sooner exploration dollars can flow into Ecuador and technical work can take place. Now, a separate avenue for new projects coming into Salazar Resources is through negotiation with existing owners. So we can have discussions with license owners, and these are ongoing, and we're doing site visits and we're doing reconnaissance at new project areas, and that we've got a superb regular deal flow that's coming through. And that was how we added Los Santos to the project portfolio, and we've got a few other irons in the fire there which are looking really exciting, and I'll hopefully report on that shortly. Just as a reminder, Ecuador is, of course, relatively underexplored and gradually revealing giant copper and gold deposits. There have been a raft of recent deposit discoveries which are spectacular, including Yurimagua, Cascabel and Fruta del Norte, and more recently Warintza through Solaris, and Porvenir through SolGold. The government is keen on developing a responsible mining industry because it's essential in its nation building and its kind of post-COVID recovery. Ecuador needs US dollars to fund social and infrastructure projects because it is a US dollar denominated country. It cannot print money because it doesn't have its own currency. So the only route to getting capital into the country is either through debt, but they're pretty maxed out on their debt levels, or through foreign direct investment, or through exports. And because of the economic slump that's induced by COVID and the weak economy before COVID, before coronavirus, really you need a strong source of foreign direct investment, and mining has been that in the last 4 years. So from 2017 to 2020, mining contributed 46% of the foreign direct investment into Ecuador, and it looks capable of continuing to kind of play that major role. And the government is advocating the development of a sustainable, responsible, well-regulated mining industry. And the calling cards, or the exemplars, are these two mines that were brought into production in 2019, which is Mirador by Junefield, Equicorriente, owned by the Chinese, the copper mine, which is aiming to produce about 100,000 tons of copper a year, and Fruta del Norte, which is the Lundin gold operation, which was producing around 350,000 ounces of gold per annum at the moment, and it has been so successful. So what Ecuador's looking for is tax revenue, job creation, foreign direct investment, and then export sales. And all of that can come from the responsible mining sector. Now, it's not all easy going in, easy life in Ecuador, because there's a very strong anti-mining section of the community, section of society, and indeed there are anti-mining forces within the legislative, within the National Assembly, within the legislative branch of the government. So Lasso, Guillermo Lasso won the election this year on a pro-investment, pro-business platform, but he's got he doesn't have a majority in the National Assembly. He has been offered support by the Correa party, the UNES party, when it comes to development of the mining sector. But there's still a lot of opposition. Pachakutik, which is the indigenous, often very anti the extractives industry, they have got a significant number of seats in the assembly, and it's possible that there'll be obstacles to the easy development or the rapid development of the mining sector in Ecuador. So it's not all straightforward. It'll remain complex, but the general trajectory and the general kind of requirement for these kinds of investments is inescapable. You know, it's a logic that you can't refute. You have to, if you're going to improve the lives of the Ecuadorian people, you have to have an economy that's going to support investment into healthcare, into education, and into social infrastructure. And mining is one of the ways to do that. And it's perhaps the key growth opportunity in front of the Ecuadorian government and the Ecuadorian people for the next 10 years. So that's really the kind of the key driver behind the progress that we expect to see in Ecuador. And Ecuador is very much on the map. Slide 11 shows you the kind of the logos of the companies, or the list of the names of the companies that are operating in Ecuador. They are attracted by the scale and the grade, the exploration potential, and the new government commitment to the mining industry. Basically, if you're looking for copper and gold deposits anywhere in the world and you want big ones with good grade, you kind of got to be looking at Ecuador. And so this list of major companies is not exclusive. There are some names that aren't there, but we know that those companies are also looking at Ecuador, and quite often they speak to us, Salazar Resources, because Salazar Resources is Ecuadorian. You know, we know the potential, we know what's going on in Ecuador better than almost anyone, and Freddie and Pacho and Carlos are highly respected geologists in Ecuador. And so when the regional exploration managers for other companies, or in fact some of these companies, want to touch base with what's going on and what the kind of the latest developments are in Ecuador, quite often we'll get the call. So we're speaking to a lot of we can see that there's interest, external interest from companies, big copper, big major mining companies that are diversified, that are not on this page. We also know that they're looking at Ecuador. So on slide 12, really this is about the Salazar advantage, the Ecuadorian heritage. We found a lot of deposits in Ecuador. There's a picture of Freddie, of Pacho, and of Carlos. These Freddie, of course, CEO and president. Pacho's head of geology, and Carlos is one of my most senior geologists. You know, they have seen the rocks. They've explored the length and breadth of Ecuador. In fact, in 2014, 15, 16, Pacho and Carlos were in charge of the government review of the geology of Ecuador. They had a budget of $70 million. They had a team of 80 geologists, and they did a complete review, stream sediment samples, a kind of a regional program in conjunction with a number of universities around the world. So we really know the geology of Ecuador. We've got a strong team, we've got drill rigs, we've created the Salazar Foundation really to ensure that we carry our community expertise from project to project, and let's say when we parcel it up into Kuri Mining, which is the company which is developing El Domo, that we can actually draw on that, and we don't lose it when we when the project goes into the next phase of its life. Actually, we can maintain what we've learned on all of our new projects that we're looking at, and even at the exploration level. And slide 13, really this is perhaps the core of Salazar Resources, is that because it's an Ecuadorian company, because we are, and it feels a bit odd because I'm not Ecuadorian, but everybody else in the company is, the CSR, it's integrated right through from the moment that we first go and speak to the local communities. We are of the people. We are Ecuadorian. And everything we do is with dialogue with the local community. We speak to the local community even before we speak to the regional authority. And so what actually that happens is that we work with the local people, so much so, the local communities, that they become our advocates, they become our best champions, they become our best supporters. And quite often, and several times we've seen in the past where a regulatory authority has come through to say, hang on, you Salazar Resources aren't doing the right thing here. Quite often it's the local community who have said, well, actually, you guys said you were going to come and the government said you were going to go and come and do this and support us in this way, and you haven't done it. And by the way, Salazar Resources has been here, and we really do want them to continue with their work. So we know that we can operate in places, parts of Ecuador where other companies can't operate. We have seen many companies in Ecuador invest significant amounts of money on CSR programs which are kind of slightly misguided or just kind of don't quite get it just right, and we can continue to work with a smaller amount of kind of financial investment with a kind of greater emotional understanding. So transparency and mutual respect is absolutely key for us, and it's not just at the community level, we understand it at the government and at the regional and at the mines department. And we are so proud of our community projects that we're doing, whether it's the dance school Alma Minera, which is the photograph here, or the football club Mineros. Right across, we really believe that responsible mining can be a force for good within the community, within the province, within the state, and at the national level. Slide 14. This is a kind of capital markets or a kind of corporate structure slide. It shows that we're funded for the next 12 months. We raised $6.5 million at 35 cents in February. At 35 cents, our market cap is $52 million. The share price has pretty much trebled over the last 18 months. Our liquidity has increased from very low levels to about 130,000 shares per day. We've joined the OTC QB index in December 2020, and we've got a very, very strong shareholder register. The Salazar family still owns about 22%. Directors and insiders own another 12%. The Arlington Group, who are our financial advisors as well and helped us on the placing, own about 9%. And we've increased the shareholder register, or the shareholding of institutions. We've got a couple out of the US, some out of the UK, and some out of Australia. And really, these are longer term buyers who are getting a position now because they can see that the risk reward on the company is extraordinary, given that we expect that the value is going to increase through as El Domo is de-risked, and then you've always got the optionality of a major discovery ahead of that. We do have a quite a long retail tail at the end of that, and that's a function of having been listed already for 15 years. I think I'll end it there. That's the kind of the key presentation that I do on the conferences, the one-to-ones, and the PMS conferences, and the Mines and Money conferences that I attend. There are a further number of slides going through the geology of each of them in more detail, but Really that, I hope, provides an insight into the company as a whole. Thank you very much for listening.